Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general mid-month reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of March. I hope you are. Using the Llewellyn Tarot for you today. So, the mid-month readings are structured slightly differently to the main monthly readings. I will pull 3 cards for your current energy and then 3 cards for what this energy is trying to teach you. I think everything is a lesson. That's how I run my life, and I found that this perspective really helps when navigating what can be challenging energy at times, right? We all know that. And sometimes it's trying to teach you something, and sometimes it's just trying to lay the ground for something new. And I feel like that element of detachment almost allows for perspective that can really help you not feel like you're swimming against the tide all the time. You know? So after that, we'll pull 3 cards of advice. If that doesn't make any sense, just bear with me, because I'm sure it will by the end of the reading. So let's get 3 cards for Taurus, please. Where is Taurus right now? Wow, we've got some things going on with you here, Taurus. We have the 4 of Cups at the bottom of the deck and the King of Cups too. And interestingly, the very first thing that I feel as I'm looking at these cards is that there are a lot of people who have not caught up with where you are now, Taurus. Now, we've been on a journey for a while now together. It's, good, over a year, where I have witnessed personally the changes that you have been going through here. And you, for me, are this King of Cups character. But there are many people who have not been progressing at the rate that you have. And there's something about the way that you are at the moment that is... they don't understand it. You don't react to things in the way that you used to. You're not reactive in the way that you used to be. Or maybe I can never really accuse Taurus of being reactive exactly, because you internalize things so very much. So, something might happen and you might be quite aggrieved by it, but you would then take that, internally, and you would deal with that wound quietly and peacefully, because you didn't want to, make anybody else feel awkward or whatever. And because you take responsibility for things a little too much. But it seems to me a little bit like there are people in your environment who don't really understand the new you. Now, that's okay. That's not your problem. But I feel like perhaps they might be vocalizing this to you a little bit, because I feel there being a bit of, not a wobble exactly, but a slight feeling of disbelief, because it's clear that you are a much happier version of you than you have ever been before, and yet still some people have an issue with that, which seems like a very odd thing to do indeed, but it feels like they're communicating that to you. The thing is, before I go any further, I just want to say that there's no major arcana here. This is all minor arcana stuff, day-to-day stuff. It's about the way that you are dealing with things. It's not about big energies coming in and knocking you sideways and stuff like this. This is all about you and how you are showing up day-to-day. I think that you're showing up day-to-day beautifully, right? King of Cups energy right here, right? That's Scorpio, but it's emotional mastery. There's a level of your emotions that you have conquered that is, it's kind of leaving other people behind in a sort of way. I don't feel like you have been turning your back on people, but people perceive the shift, perceive the change in you. And for whatever reason, they're getting irate about it and kind of bringing this to you now. Oh, you've changed, yeah, I've fucking changed. I've worked really hard at changing. Thank you very much. And I feel like this is kind of bringing you to a place that you didn't really want to be, Taurus, because you're so terribly loyal, so tremendously loyal, and people don't get left behind with you. But it feels to me a little bit like you're getting to a position where you are now understanding that some people need to exit your life. It's just what needs to happen. Because we've got the 2 of Swords here. It is followed by the Page of Swords. And then we have the Eight of Cups, right? And all of these cups have got a heavy cups. All of these cards have got a fairly heavy feeling about them. Yeah, and let's say I don't really like it, because I don't really like it. But by the same token, you know, I said to my daughter a few days ago, when people show you who they are, believe them. You know, and I feel like there are people in your midst who are showing you really who they are now, and they're not quite who you expected. Perhaps, you know, there may have been some of them that you thought would be happier for you, you know, that now everything's going a little bit better. But, you know, sometimes there are emotionally brittle people out there who don't like to see you do well. And this is, in whatever sense that applies, and it feels like they are kind of knittering at you. You know, the reason that I said that you didn't ever want to be here is because we've got this Two of Swords. Now, I think on a level, somewhere deep within you, you have always known that you were getting to a point where you were outgrowing, you know, the circumstances that you were in. Like, I don't know how much you love it, but like this whole thing of like sucking your ribs in and moving on your tippy toes, right? You've swelled to fill your face, that was a hell of a slip, wasn't it? Fill your space. But now you're starting to push at the edges and move beyond that, right? You've outgrown where you are. And I think that you always knew that you were going to get to this point. But I think that you kind of steadfastly kind of just like, well, maybe they'll grow too, and then it'll be okay. It doesn't feel like that's the case here, Taurus. This Page of Swords feels like these people are in your environment, and it feels like they're being snippy, and you in response are realizing now that it is time to leave these people behind. It's time to leave this situation behind. And sometimes that might just be, you know, not returning their calls quite as frequently as you might have done, just winding it down. For others of you, it will be taking your ball and going home. You know, just like, I have had enough of this shit. I am so beyond this now. I do not have to sit here and listen to this. I really like this for you, Taurus. I know that it's not the reason that I like it is because of how far you have come in light of what's coming out here, right? This time last year, this would have sent you into a tailspin. Oh no, people in my environment think that I'm awful because I've done, you know, it would be another tool in your arsenal to beat yourself with. But there's such a level of autonomy about you now, you know, kind of really pulling your power back to you, that when somebody comes at you with this stuff, you're just like, oh, I don't really recognize this characterization of me that you're pulling here, and I know that I'm not like that, and I know that you are probably more like that, right? There's an element of projection here, pretty hard actually, is what I'm feeling, Taurus. And you've got such a sense of self now that you know that it isn't you. That's glorious. That's what I really like about this. Let's have a look and see what the lesson is here, although it seems to be pretty clear. Let's talk about the lesson for Taurus. So we have the Knight of Swords and we have the Ten of Pentacles. We have the Knight of Wands. And we have the Nine of Wands. I really like that. So we've got the Four of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. These are people that you've been holding on to. And perhaps in some ways who've been holding on to you, but they are holding you back now. And I feel like you sense that, you know that. You might not like it. You may not be comfortable with it. But it is what it is. And I feel an understanding of that. Right? I feel an increasing level of acceptance that it is what it is, and these people just ain't what it is. Thank you very much, you know. We've got here the Knight of Swords and the Ten of Pentacles. Now, this Ten of Pentacles is a card that I love to see for Taurus because it talks about that, you know, commitment, but it talks about things coming to fruition, you know, those little acorns that you planted, you know, a long time ago, finally coming to a point where they are bearing fruit and they are sustaining not just you, but those that you love around you. But that is you. You know, the Ten of Pentacles here in this situation is you, Taurus. What you have worked so very hard on, what you have worked to create, this stability, this security. I'm always talking about it every week, you know, every month. It's such a part of you now that to deny that in any kind of way would be inauthentic, right? And what we've been chasing all of this time is authenticity. And with this Knight of Swords here, I just don't think that you're going to be told by anybody that you can't be you anymore. I think that that's a completely unacceptable state of play, and that's what the lesson is here. It's been always about getting you to defend yourself, right? And to do that, you had to know that you were a thing in and of yourself, and that you were worth defending. And I think that you're getting there. I think that this situation beautifully proves that you are there. And we've got the Knight of Wands here following that. Now that's a card of Sagittarius, but it's that the flexibility that we've been talking about for such a long time that's starting to build into you now. Now you don't have to control your environment to feel safe and secure. Now you're carrying that around with you a little bit. You don't have to stay where you don't want to be. You don't have to stay where you are unfulfilled in any given sense. You know, you are free. You're a free womble. You know, you're liberated. And I think you always were. You know, there's so many swords here in this. It was all up here with you, and you're releasing a lot of that now. It is all about the way that you live. We've got the Nine of Wands here, right? Really good boundaries, good defenses. Again, we've got these two knights, and they're both ready to defend, right? That's the whole point of them. And what you're defending is inherently you. But it's not just you. It's your values, it's what you think is important, it's all of those things. And now, you know, these people are coming at you, and they've forgotten that you're not a cow anymore, that you've remembered you're a bull. They're gonna run up against something that's a bit more solid than they anticipated. Ooh, I love this. Let's get you some cards of advice. Oh, there goes my back. 3 cards of advice for Taurus, please. Advice for Taurus. There's 2 there. Let's see what they are. We have the 5 of Wands, and we have the 7 of Swords, right? Yeah, I mean, this kind of adds a lot of credibility to what I was feeling right at the beginning of the reading there. We have the King of Cups, yeah, and one more, please. And we have the 8 of Wands, right? We have the 10 of Wands at the bottom of the deck, right? It's talking again about the burden that is associated with being inauthentic, right? It is a burden to you now. We're not about that life anymore. And anything that involves you having to work really hard to have people just accept you for who you are, right? Bullshit to that, right? That's gone. It's not what you're about anymore. But do you remember how I said at the beginning that these people felt kind of shitty to me? Well, here they are, right? We've got the 5 of Wands, which is a card of conflict. We also have the 7 of Swords, and I feel compelled to tell you, Taurus, that these people, these ones that you've outgrown, these situations that you've outgrown, you know, they're not... They're not cut from the same cloth as you. Let's put it that way, shall we? But also, another thing for this is don't be afraid of a bit of conflict here. Don't be afraid of asserting yourself. Don't be afraid of the fact that if you do that you're going to piss people off, and you might, you know, escalate something. There's nothing going on here that you can't handle. And maybe what it needs is for them to run up against your horns and see who you are now, right? Because it'll be the measure of them. When, you know, they're presented with this big beast and they, you know, come straight off the top of it, maybe they might apologize. Maybe they might do something, you know, better. The thing is, it's not really important at this point. What they do is actually none of your concern. As long as you don't let it, rather, affect you, right? Because here's the King of Cups again. There's your emotional, you know, stability. There you are, knowing who you are. There you are, having grown so big, It's so bold. I love it for you, Taurus. I really, really do. But the Eight of Wands is here as well. The Eight of Wands is a card of communication, and this one I always feel like there's a two-way dialogue going on. Some people you will be able to talk to, but and reason with and make them see your point of view, right? Or not even make them see your point of view. Help them understand your point of view. Help them understand who you are now. But others of them will not see it. And you know what? That's okay. That's all right. It's not necessary, because you are right here where you're supposed to be. But I do feel you moving away. You know, and maybe you need, in whatever sense that applies, maybe it is that you need to have, you know, a conversation that could be a little difficult in order to bring this moving away in. You know, maybe you want to bring closure to this situation and just let everybody know, like, this is where I'm going and this is what I'm doing. About the Eight of Wands, please. Really? A whole fucking heap of cards there. Oh, Taurus. This is so beautiful. I love this for you. We've actually got the Tower at the bottom of the deck, and I really like this because this is course correction. But what it tells me also is that you are not afraid of shaking the tower, right? Let's extend the ball metaphor. You're not afraid of running up against the tower and smacking it with your head until it starts to fall down, because you are that level of beast now. You can pull that off. The cards that you've got here, that just clarifiers, all burped out together. We've got the Ace of Pentacles. That's your ace, and it's the one that I love to see the most for Tauruses, because that's that measurable improvement when you know you're doing something well, because these new opportunities, this new potential is in your grasp. And then we have the Sun. Like, you really have nothing to worry about. Like, allow yourself to fill your space, and if the space isn't big enough for you, then it's time to move on. If people are fighting with you for the space, then it's time to move on from them as well. You know, this is a card of joy. And look at, I don't see there, like the Sun and the Ace of Pentacles together, the beautiful round yellow ball in the sky. Your happiness brings new opportunities to you, Taurus, right? Whenever you feel comfortable in the world, new opportunities come and find you. And where you can be flexible, right? Where you can allow yourself to move in the way that you are now wanting to move, in the way that you can defend yourself, the way that you live, all of these things, right? It's just like a constant cycle of new opportunities and happiness, and new opportunities and happiness. Like, you deserve all of this. And if anybody's trying to tell you otherwise, then, you know, frankly, fuck them. What do they know, right? The cards say Taurus are awesome. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope that this is useful for you. I hope that this validates or confirms feelings that you've already had, because it feels like that kind of reading to me. This doesn't feel like it's new information for you. It feels like it's stuff that you know already. Yeah. And know that I love you all very, very much. I will see you soon.